And so liberation, any degree of liberation, depends on wisdom, discernment. Word liberation is used to mean any degree of it, like I'm free from, this afternoon I seem to be free from the hindrance of restlessness. So notice that, notice the liberation that there is. The quality of ill will is not present, manifesting for me at this time. And so you're being really accurate. You don't say, I am this or I am that. Just say, not that. I am always free from ill will, just it's not manifesting now. Oh yeah, that's true. And enjoy that. Fear is not manifesting. Craving is done, I don't see it. So it's going to actually, the part of wisdom is to discern what isn't there, which is something we're not very good at. We just kind of tend to see we've got to see something, know something, get more information. This tends to crowd the mind, crowd the heart. Really, what you want to see or realize is where the stress, which supports suffering, and where there's not. When it's not, when there isn't any, the stress dependent upon drowsiness or irritation, that's what it's like. So within that particular frame of reference, there's a stability, an openness. You're not claiming anything or stating anything or getting anything, you're just saying how it is now. When that's quality, afflictive quality is not present. And study it, absorb into it. And the quality is stable, relatively stable, or more stable than when it's chaotic. Degree of stability. And it's also open, and then it's not congested. It's not clamped. Then you get the sign, which means the fundamental definition of it. Experience. This is open, steady. Feel that. And notice when it's not that way, something's pressing, pushing, pushing forward, pushing back, pushing down, stressing, grabbing. And then if you have touched into the experience of liberation to whatever degree, then something you can kind of remember that. Oh, there's this too. It's open, steady. Your chitta knows this. Your chitta, your heart remembers it. It's like it remembers so many other features of your life. The gladness and the sorrow and the excitement and the irritation. Signs. The sign of openness is an important one because it tends to be overlooked because of our fascination with content. This is why people sometimes don't see or realize the unconditioned, because the mind is so used to things that are more stirring, This persuasion that we have to have something, be doing something, learning something. No, you just want to stop suffering, stress, pressure. And what kind of energy is present when it's like that? It's not pushing forward, it's not dragging back, it's not clamping, it's just a certain gentle brightness, I imagine. That's what it is for me. Wisdom then is discerning this and realizing it. Realization means you absorb into that as if the citta gets it. The purpose of sati, mindfulness, is to bear it in mind, linger. Now, when formations are arising, there is formations, that's these formative energies that are running through the heart, shaping things up, presenting a future, remembering, tangling, twirling. We use wisdom. Another way is called, general term is Dhamma-vicaya, exploring these as phenomena rather than as myself. So, so all that meanness in my mind and my moods and my memories and my so on, if that could just even be, do you need to say that? Why have it me? That's a very important intonation and implication, which is deeply influential because it biases, puts a bias on the exploration, doesn't it? Something becomes more loaded. But actually, isn't it just as good to say this? These are qualities. They're not something that I only have. They're qualities that, in a way, can be made to define me, and then it's a problem. Or they can be made as something that I am witnessing, aware of. Doesn't really change it, slightly reframes it. And with the different kinds of intelligence that human beings have, the first one you know very well, your conceptual intelligence. This means that. This means that. It's the ability to define something, experience something, and define it as something else. So it's the experience of seeing, and then that is that. We define what we're seeing. You use a concept, apple, tree, screen. Use the word, the concept arises. So that's one of those. And that's the wisdom, that's the intelligence that knows how to represent things. So when you go to the store, you can say, I want to buy an apple. You've got that little conceptual nugget. Go to the supermarket, I want a new screen. Got a little conceptual nugget that you can then carry around and, do things with. very handy form of intelligence. So handy and so much used that we don't realize we have other forms of intelligence which are more pertinent to liberation. And these are non-conceptual. And they don't translate translate experience. They just feel it and sense it and respond to it. First one you probably know is your body intelligence. And when you stand up on the floor and you tread on something that's uneven, your body shimmers and steadies itself. Right? When you stand up, you suddenly the floor feels slippery or it's icy. If you're in it, you're in your body begins to, oh, wait a minute, steady up. Yeah. So it's an immediate responsive intelligence. It doesn't say, oh, the floor is icy, therefore you should do something. Your thinking intelligence does that, but your body intelligence immediately senses and responds. Something's hot, your body drops it. Maybe doesn't need to go through thinking to do that. When you're eating your food, your body knows how much pressure to use in your jaws to get the food crunched up. When you're picking up a drink, your body knows exactly where your mouth is, right? Where to put the cup to your lips. You can't see it. You're going to think, oh, let me think, left hand down a bit, go right, steady. The body knows exactly where it is, and it knows itself. And it guides towards the feeling. You've got an itch on your back, your hand goes around there and scratches it. You don't have to think about where it is. Immediately the body knows itself. This is an important cultivation for mindfulness of body, mindfulness of breathing. Rather than thinking about breathing, labeling breathing, naming breathing, letting the body sense and feel breathing and responding to it by allowing it, opening to it, staying with it, and enjoying it. And it's important to give the body room to do that, rather than have your thinking mind jumping into the driver's seat to meditate with its manual, which has its uses. And there's a time to put aside the manual and ask your body how it feels and how much it needs to breathe in and how much it needs to breathe out. And so in a way, you're encouraging the body intelligence to come forward. Even another kind of another basis of this is heart intelligence. Could call it emotional intelligence, but it's heart intelligence. Very important indeed. This is the intelligence that liberates. Heart intelligence knows this is stress, this is imbalanced, this is closing down, this is holding on, this is agitation, but it doesn't think about it. If your heart really touches the place of stress, it begins to, relax, if it's wise, of course. So this heart intelligence, like the body intelligence, has to be trained, because for a long time, heart intelligence has been overridden by conceptual intelligence, by brain, most of our lives probably. It's always, doesn't matter what you're feeling because you've got to do this. It doesn't matter what your gut is telling you because this is what it says in the book. It's not the time to have that mood and feeling because now you've got to do this. And you're going to get by. And we believe in the stories we read in the screens and the books and the manuals and the speeches that's saying about the future and the past and the country and the job and the work and the right and the good and the true and the free and all this kind of stuff. And you're bedazzled by all this stuff. Believe it. And then, so your heart doesn't know what's going on really. You're feeling, the heart probably feels flooded, and just goes along. Flooded feeling. We use these terms, floods, outflows, flooded. In that drowning, flooded state, heart is just either numbing out, struggling, agitated, or confused. So now we're actually, putting aside kind of our worldly Dhamma, our worldly contexts. And the encouragement, because this encouragement has to come verbally, to feel what you feel. You feel it where it is felt. Not to feel about something or to feel that. I feel that I should. No, that's not it. That's conceptual. I feel, the feeling is, the felt sense is pressure or open, stirred, cloudy. And then simple, you can kind of begin this simple intonation. It's just again a suggestion of words. What's needed for this? What is this? Not what do I need to do about this, but what does this quality need? And that is that's an open gesture, isn't it? And you bring in that quality of openness. What does this quality need? That's a very open gesture. And if you're not searching for a result or an answer, there's also a stability there. I don't know. I'm just, because the words are there not to give you a conceptual answer, but just to generate a certain openness. The openness and stability. I'm not going to go into this or step away from it. I'm just inviting it. What's needed? And because these heart intelligence and body intelligence do line up, they do their partners, they're symbiotic, you might find, strangely enough, that what does it need? And then your body drops a shoulder. What do you do that for? Oh, it breathes out. That's what's needed. Or it breathes in. Or something softens in your body domain. Or an energy moves through. Something in your heart area sharpens up or brightens up. Or it could be an emotion moves through, a sense of relief or sadness or fire. It's a very interesting cultivation. And it's important to remember this kind of very direct wisdom you've got to keep, holding back or asking the thinking mind to step back, even though it may have the right answer in its own terms. Like what you really need to do is to just straighten up or breathe in. It's a good answer, but it's coming from the wrong place, because we're not going to educate. You don't need to educate the thinking mind in that sense. We need to let the body and the heart do their learning. And it's sometimes slow because they don't necessarily, they haven't been asked to do this. But once we bring up the sign, remember that gesture of openness and stability. That is, it's not looking forward to an answer. It's not get the answer now. It's just steady and trusting. Sometimes it's just that's all's needed and things move through. That's all's needed. And qualities move through, dissolve. You don't really know what that was about. You don't have to necessarily. Because at the end of the day, what happens is you've begun open stability, you've got the sense of it, you've applied it, and that's what you're left with. And this gives you a much more sense of confidence, independent of knowledge, independent of doing something, independent of, phenomena being there or being present. And this is the independence. Right? This is kind of another way of just touching into the liberation potential. I don't have to conceptually understand everything that's been going on through me, through this space, but I can understand where that can be allowed to pass, and the domain of passing, the domain of cessation, which is dispassionate. Okay, the domain, I mean that quality that I've just referred to, open stability. You can know that, and it's independent of age, intelligence, conceptual intelligence, anything personal. And at the same time, it's quite okay with all the personal stuff. It's not trying to be transcendent or above it all, because it doesn't have to try. Allowing, the more we can allow, and the practice is then wholly exploring, in a sense, how phenomena form, pass, is another development from there. What triggers and touches things. But fundamentally, you understand their arising, they're forming, they're moving through, and the place of their subsiding. And this very much affects our, affects what we pick up and run with. You begin to find there's a relinquishment of a lot of these reflexes that we normally pick up and run along. They don't have the same belief and validity when they're really seen and understood in this way. Things tend to unfold and relinquish themselves, and what remains is this cool, bright openness. Easeful. So let's take some time for direct practice. So we'll take about, recommend for ballpark, say 45 minutes. And in that time, you can stand some, sit some, or sit the whole period. And just remember, just use your body to support your practice. So standing position can make your body feel a lot more open. Just by the fact that, the spine feels elongated, your body will feel more open. But it's always just a little more work on your legs. Sitting position, nice and stable. If you've got a good sitting position, can get a little bit involved, can tend to brood a little bit. So watch out for those qualities. And in sitting, I must admit that just keeping your eyes open is a very simple strategy that you can use for periods of time or for all of it. Not looking at anything, but just letting the light come in to counteract the tendency to just go right into the mind like you're diving into a well, and you lose the spaciousness. The spaciousness is important. The idea is that you can use the visual consciousness to kind of bring your awareness to a wider space. You can transfer that to your tactile. So you're aware of the top of your chest and your seat and so forth, and you hold that to keep almost like pinning the mind open so it doesn't get folded up with itself. And if that's going well, you can go to the breathing, as long as the breathing goes all the way down, all the way up, so it keeps things nice and open. It kind of ventilates the inner channel. So that's what we're looking for, not to contract around breathing, but to use it as something that just cleanses and moderates your inner space, to keep that open stability, contemplating what arises. So let's take some time to practice together, and I'll keep one eye on the clock and let you know how time is passing.